Robert is just wrapping up the deputy director position of RAIN. He was a huge part of the Small Business Innovation Fund grant that was administered through EDASC and the Island County EDC the first part of 2023. And I'll let him explain his depth of knowledge in small business and supporting entrepreneurial ecosystems.
All right. Thank you, Jonathan. Thank you so much for reaching out to me with the question that we're going to be exploring today, which is how do we take advantage of, I hate to use those words, how do we capitalize on, how do we benefit from crowds that are coming to our communities for holiday celebrations? What type of marketing tips and tricks can we implement with just a few days left and without any budget? And so I'm here to give you a bunch of content today, and I will go ahead and jump in to my slide deck. I was really excited about this slide deck. Last second marketing on a shoestring. So as I said, I'm going to be going really fast today. So let me get everything out of the way, because it wouldn't make sense for me to grab, say, the top 3 or 4 things to share and really focus on those, which is what I would normally do in an hour-long presentation about marketing. I choose just a couple really high-impact items. But in this case, we're looking for last-minute things that you can do. And if I chose the wrong ones, you'd spend an hour here unable to make use of it. So my goal today is to give you a bunch of content, 25 different tips that you can grab, 2, 3, 4, 5 that you might be able to implement over the next few days in preparation for holiday crowds. So before I jump in, I do want to say thank you to EDASC and for Rain Catalyst for bringing this presentation to you. As you all hopefully know, EDASC has brought Rain in and Jonathan to support entrepreneurship throughout Skagit County, and he has been an absolute dream to work with. And as he did mention, my time with Rain is coming to a close here in just a couple of days, but it's been an absolute honor to work with Jonathan. So a little bit about me, just so you know who's talking. First decade of my life, my professional life, I was a fine artist and then a graphic designer, really focusing a lot on brand design. Then the second decade of my career, I was in banking as branch manager and commercial lender. And then I focused over the last 10 to 12 years, really focused on supporting businesses. That became my passion. When I was a banker, I came to this realization. So I became a chamber executive. I was an SBDC director for a couple of years. And then for the last 2 years, I was the deputy director of Rain Catalyst, as Jonathan mentioned. And that has brought us to this point. Moving forward, I should let you know, I'm actually living in Italy now. My wife got a job here at a international school, so we moved here in August. And because of that, I need to forewarn you, my internet is not great, but we do have a plan. So if I drop out, I'm going to call in, and then Jonathan can run the slide deck from that point. So don't get worried if I do fall off. But I'm here in Italy, and I'm going to be building out my own coaching curriculum and looking for additional contracts to do in the future. Today, I really want to focus on 2 things. In addition to just giving you a number of tips and tricks, I also want you to think about the customer journey. So this is going to be the long tail benefit you can get from this presentation, is really thinking about what the different touch points are, all the touch points that where a potential customer interacts with your brand, your store. And we're not going to talk about all of these one by one, but if you think about all of the different ways and the journey that the customer takes to ultimately buy from you and hopefully become a fan, the work we're doing today really does highlight different touch points And moving beyond the holiday season into next year, I'm hoping you will take this concept with you, that at every point along this journey, the customer is expecting a particular experience from you. They're hoping for a consistent brand experience throughout, whether it's somebody you don't even know who's telling a story about you, or somebody who's in your store interacting with one of your staff members. So I love the customer journey conversation, and I think it's really important. So, but before we jump into the content, I just want to let you know, use the chat today. It is absolutely okay to be writing in the chat as I am talking, because I've got so much content to deliver. I'm not going to be able to do a lot of back and forth in this presentation. So what I'd like you to do two things with the chat. One, put any questions you may have in the chat. If a miracle happens and we have time at the end, we might go through a couple of them. But even if we don't, I will go through the questions in the chat tomorrow, and I'll create a document that Jonathan can then get out to you. In addition, if you have great examples or ideas that I don't come up with, or that are just ideas that are spawned by what I say, please share with one another. We can use the chat as a well of information to support one another, and those will also be included in the document that we send out. So here's what we're doing today. There are three different big categories today. The first is becoming a holiday destination for people who are coming to your community for something else. They're coming to celebrate. They're coming for a parade. They're coming for a tree lighting, whatever your celebration is. You can see there are 15 different tips. There are actually 3 different groups of 5 that I'll share about in a second. The second category here is converting lookers into customers. So you've got people into your store. How do you get them to want to buy something from you? That's your goal today. And then once they've made a purchase, what can you do to convert customers into fans, so they don't just help you out this season, but they help you out next year and next season as well? So that's our goal today. So when we take a look at that first category, becoming a holiday destination, like I said, there are 3 different categories here. 5 ways to get noticed from the street or from the other side of the street. 5 tips to tempt customers through your door once they're right in front of you, thinking, do I go in or not? And then 5 simple steps to attract visitors from anywhere. And I'll talk more about that in a second. So with that, I'm going to jump in. Jonathan, I'm only seeing you, so just stop me if I need to stop for any reason. All right. 5 ways to get noticed from the street. We're going to start by embracing the theme. Okay, what this means, if your community has a holiday theme of some sort, and it's probably just going to be general holiday, recognize that people who are coming to your community, they're not coming there on an errand. They're coming there to celebrate, to be part of the festivities. And when you think about the mindset that they are in, they're wanting to party. They're wanting to celebrate. And if you can imagine yourself walking into a store that's not participating, a store that doesn't have any lights up, doesn't have any decor, there's just a store with an open door. To walk into that store requires that person to break out of their celebration, that celebratory feel, mindset, vibe that they have, to run an errand, to do something that is not about the celebration. Nobody wants to do that. It's why on Halloween, you don't go and knock on the doors of people who don't have lights on or pumpkins out, because they're not part of the party. So if you want people to be interested in coming into your store, the visitors need to be able to look at your store and recognize this is an extension of the celebration. The store is celebrating in the festivities. If I walk in, I can keep that celebratory vibe. I don't have to get rid of it to run an errand in the store. And then bring the bling, light the place up, right? You want to be noticed. It's okay to be a little, with a little extra bling in the holiday season is not going to hurt anybody. As I mentioned, I'm over here in Italy, and Florence is just recently, in this last week, has turned on all its lights. And you walk down the streets of Florence and there are lights hanging for miles. And we walked into a giant lit present, a Christmas present that's actually something you walk in with your kids, and the kids get to run around inside this Christmas present that's made entirely of lights. Bring the bling. Let people know that you are part of this celebration. And then welcome them boldly. Make certain that nobody is wondering if you're actually open. Even beyond that, if you really want to extend a welcome hand, maybe you create a sign that says, welcome visitors to our great town. Welcome, be very bold with your welcome. You can probably do better than simply the open sound or the open sign. And next, I was a musician early in my life. I love sounds. So I'm going to recommend that if you don't have a bell on your door, you can always probably hang sleigh bells on the door, something so that when people are going in and out, it causes an audio signal out into the world that you are open for business and that you are, again, celebrating part of the festivities. I'm going to focus a lot on sensory, just the senses. How do you encourage people to, one, look your direction, and two, take a step in? And then the last one is extending your presence. What does this mean? It means to take your business out onto the sidewalk. Obviously, there are a number of things that I'm going to talk about here that there might be code for your city or county that you need to be aware of. So I don't want you to get in trouble. So don't do anything that's going to get you in trouble and then blame me. But if you can extend yourself out into the road with a sandwich board, with chalk art, however you can, to extend yourself out onto the sidewalk, to reach out and grab people, that would be great. I wanted to share, well, actually, I guess I've got somewhere else, I've got an example of this. All right, so these are 5 ways to get noticed from the street. And all of these are really 5 different ways of saying, our store is a participant in these festivities. And if you would like to continue the festivities, to continue the celebration, you can come into our store and still feel like you're partying. Right? That's the first big category, getting noticed from the street. The next 5 are 5 tips to tempt customers through your door. So imagine, let's go through that customer journey. Somebody has come to town for the parade. They're standing over on the other side of the street. The parade goes through, but as between the floats, between the cars, they see your store over there. And it's lit up. It's got a welcome visitors sign. You can hear the jingle on the door when somebody walks through. So when the parade's over, they say, I need to go over there. So they come over. They're still not certain they're walking through the door. So what do you do when they're standing at the door to ensure they come inside? And this is where I'm really going to focus on the senses. We got 5 senses. I've got 5 tips. The first is sight. So when they look through the door or through the windows, does the celebration extend into the store, or is it just window dressing, literally window dressing? If it extends into the store, that will give them greater confidence. Whoops, on the wrong direction. This one might be hard from outside, but maybe they're standing right at the door. Can they smell the holidays? This definitely works inside, a little harder outside, but I would recommend, if you have the capacity to bring in some holiday smells. I love it. Not everybody does, so that's definitely a personal decision there. But I love the smells of the holidays: cinnamon, vanilla. I just love it all. So something to think about. Some spice cider in a jar somewhere, just smelling up the place would be great. Also, you're probably not going to be handing out any samples on the sidewalk. If you could, that'd be good. But when they look in, do they see people walking around with cups of tea or cider, or do they see a display with candy canes that are being given to the kids, something like that, to activate their taste just looking in the store? And the same goes with touch. Do they see people walking around with warm cups in their hands? If they see that, they're going to feel the warmth on their hands. If they're standing at the door and the door opens, is your store obviously warm and inviting? So just think about the senses. And finally, sound is probably the as easy as sight. If you have the capacity, the ability, and the license to play holiday music, play holiday music. People want to continue in that vibe, and the music will allow them to do that. So hopefully one or two of these you can do. So when somebody walks, either comes to your door because they've been inspired to by the big vision of your windows and your bling, and they're standing in front, just think about the sense experience that they're having related to your store. Is it inviting? Does it continue that holiday feel? And then the third of the holiday destinations, I'm actually going to step back a little bit because I want to talk briefly about something we could spend a week on, which is how you are prepared to respond, or how you are prepared to respond to people who are looking for third-party validation that you are a place they should go into. What do I mean by that? So the person, imagine that person's across the street as the parade's going through, they see the bling and they say, I wonder what's in that store. What are they going to do? What we all do. They're going to go to their phone and they're going to Google you, or they're going to go to your social media. They're going to go to Facebook and they're going to look you up. They're going to try and find you online. How do you prepare for that? Obviously, as I said, this is something we could spend a week on easily. We're going to do it in 5 minutes here. So the first is to take a look at your business, Google business profile. And I'm actually going to show you an example. This is our favorite local bakery just behind our apartment here in Florence. It's called Bread and Break. So I did a quick search, Bread and Break Firenze, which is the Italian word for Florence. And as you can see over here, circled in red, is the Google profile that came up under that search. Hopefully, if you do a search for your own business, you're going to pop up here on the right-hand side of the page. And if anybody has uploaded pictures and tagged your business in it, it should show pictures there as well. So the first thing to do is to check and make sure that you come up. Now, if you're not coming up yet, you're probably not going to be able to make a difference in the next week or two. But if you are up here, you want to take a look and make certain that everything is accurate. So I've expanded this a little bit. So this Google profile, it shows your address, it shows the hours that are open and closed, it shows a phone number. It does show photos, it shows a map. So hopefully all of that is accurate. If it's not, you can suggest an edit. Now, there's no guarantee that if you make an edit that it is going to change immediately, but sometimes it does within 10 minutes. So it's definitely worth trying. If you see this, own a business or own this business, when you do your search, that means that you haven't actually claimed this profile. It's something that I would recommend you do, so that you can actually go in as the business owner and make changes to this. If you haven't done that, then what Google is providing you is information that it has just gleaned from public comment and the information it can find on your website. Google has made a best guess here, but it might not be accurate. So if you haven't claimed your profile in Google, you absolutely want to do that. And then if you click on photos, you'll want to check and see what are the photos like for the business. This is a very quick and easy way to boost how you look online. If you don't have great photos there, take some photos and upload them, and they will show up at the top here. And that way you know what people are going to see when they look for you. The exact same thing can happen on social media. So I did the same thing here with Facebook. So I looked up Bread and Break on Facebook, and I scrolled down a little bit before I took the screenshot, but it has this information over here in the upper left, which that should all be accurate because the company Bread and Break actually put that information in there, but you'll want to double check and make certain that it hasn't been outdated, that you haven't made changes but forgot to change your social media info. Again, take a look at photos, and I'm going to show you this little trailer video here in a second. I love the fact that they've got this holiday video pinned to the top of their feed because it's the first thing you come to, and this is something you could do very easily. So another thing you can get done very quickly are testimonials. So if you go, if you pull up your on Google, you pull up reviews, click the button that says reviews. I'm going to go back here just a second. So it's here, it says 236 Google reviews right here in the middle right. So if I click on that, that's what brings this up. So if you don't have good reviews or don't have reviews, you know you have people who would be happy to write a review for you, to give you 5 stars. And if you, even if you have a hard time reaching out to people, work with your fellow business owners that like you, and work together, write reviews for one another. If you're, be honest, but support one another in that way. You can get a bunch of really solid reviews in short order. And then this last thing related to online is putting a trailer together. And I'm going to share with you just 30 seconds of what Bread and Break did. And hopefully this plays. Give me a thumbs up if it plays, Jonathan.
It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas everywhere you go. Take a look at the 5 and 10. It's glistening once again, candy canes and silver lanes that glow.
Oh,
it's beginning to look a lot.
So that won't stop for me. So I wanted to share that because there's nothing magic about it. The video's pretty basic. They just walked in the store, they walked by their things, they put it all together with some music that probably don't have the rights to, but they created this trailer that sits at the top of their Facebook feed. That's something that you could do in an afternoon. And if you don't feel like you can do it, you can find somebody on your team or somebody that you know who could do that for you. I think it would be wonderful, especially if you've got holiday decor up that you can spotlight. You could have that done before anybody shows up to your community for these events, no matter how soon that is. So highly recommend that. And then the last thing here is not an online strategy, but collaborative marketing is, again, working with one another. Even if it's nothing more than finding one other business in your community who you can refer to because they do something that's aligned but not exactly the same. So is there another business in town that you could refer? Maybe you could put up a small display of items from their store. And just get that cross community referral going, and it can be far more involved in that. I love scavenger hunts, especially if you can do something for kids, but I think with so little time left, it would be hard to put something like that together. But just something that allows your store and your brand to be talked about elsewhere in the community. And if you reciprocate, it could be really good for all of your businesses. All right, so these were simple steps to attract visitors from anywhere, and understand that anywhere, it's not just elsewhere in the state. And it's not even on the other side of the street. Have you ever walked up to a business and actually pulled out your phone to check them out before going through the door? Maybe not. I have, and I think it's worth considering that more and more often people are going to their phones to check out stores before they commit to stepping inside. So something to think about. All right, now we've got somebody in the store, but they're milling about, they're not making eye contact, and you have no idea if they're gonna buy. Now, there are lots of different ways to convert people into buyers who are in your store. There are pricing strategies, a lot of things that are beyond the scope of what we could expect here, and with just a few days left. So what I want to focus on is the experience. I'm really committed to this idea of having your store be an extension of the celebration. If you can extend that celebration into your store so they have a really wonderful experience inside, they're going to want to support you. If they can make an excuse to buy something from you, they will, if you have given them joy, right? So here are a few things to consider when you inside the store. The first, bright, shiny faces. Your team needs to know, you and your team all need to know that for this period of time, when you have holiday shoppers or celebrants who are coming into your store, your job is to continue the party. Your job is to continue that celebration. And that needs to show on your faces. You really don't have room in an environment like this for bored or disgruntled faces. You just can't do it. So make sure, have that talk with your team, have that talk in the mirror if you need it. This is a time for bright, shiny faces. Next. Okay, benefits over features. This is another big topic, but recognize that if somebody is looking at something, asking about something, help your team and even you remember that what's going to trigger buying decisions are not the features of that product, whatever it is. It's how that product is going to benefit them. So I use this as an example. It's really simple. So what's the feature of a soccer ball? Well, it holds air and it's round, okay? But the benefit is the kid who's going to love kicking that ball around the house. And be careful what you have in the way, right? That's the benefit, is the joy on the child's face, okay? So really think about and train your team to think benefit first. How is this going to positively impact the life of the person who's asking about it? It's a great activity to focus on at any time of year, not just the holidays. One of my favorite topics, I could go on for months on this, is storytelling. If you have, and I'm sure you do, where you have great stories to tell. It could be about a particular product. It could be about the history of your store. It might be about one of your team members. Any stories. People are wired to listen to stories. If you've got great, joyful, or profound stories, make certain that everybody on the team knows them and feels comfortable sharing if it comes up. Storytelling is a way to really bring people in and make their experience in the store feel more like they're a part of the store than just visiting. So stories are great. And then if you have a team member, if you have capacity on your team to identify a customer experience lead, consider it. So this is somebody whose job, when there's a big rush, their job during the hour, hours around a parade, say, their job is just to make certain people are having a good time, that people feel welcomed in the store. They're getting the answers that they need. Sure, they might need to step in and support cash register or something else, but their primary job is customer experience. You could say that that's everybody's job, but we know that there's so much going on in the process of running a store that it's easy to get stuck in the minutia of restocking, or finding something for somebody. It's easy to get sort of pulled out of that focus on the customer experience. So if you can identify somebody to focus on that for even a brief period of time, consider that. And the last one is to be professional and efficient, is to know the responses to questions that you expect will get asked. This woman here just finished asking, what's the Wi-Fi password? Okay, we know that she asked that. And there are a collection of questions that you already know will be asked. The Wi-Fi password, nearest restrooms, ATMs, those types of questions. Make sure your team recognizes those, but also think about potential questions that might come just in the holiday season. Are there any other events? Is there something for the kids that I can take them to? Is anybody offering a package wrapping station in town? Whatever you think those questions could be, prepare them. I've been training my kids up on interview, just getting prepared to be asked interview questions. And I've let them know there is no excuse for not being able to answer the questions that are going to be asked, because they're asked in every interview. This is the same situation. Certain questions are going to be asked. If you can answer them quickly and confidently, it just makes you look better as an organization, as a store. All right, so 5 strategies to convert lookers into buyers. The idea is the person has come through the door, and they themselves might be ready to slink around the shadows, just looking head down. But if you welcome them with a bright face, and you're telling stories, and you are having a good time, then they're more likely to have a good time, to come out of that desire to kind of hide from staff and partake of the festivities, right? The more of that you can do, the more likely they're going to be to, as I said before, support you as a business and find a reason to buy something. All right. And then 5 fan building tactics. We're actually making good time here, I think. Let me just check. We're making great time. All right. We will have time to talk about some things, which is awesome. So 5 fan building tactics. The first one, we're kind of doing this. The assumption is we are creating joy. And that's those previous 5 topics were all about that. Create joy so that when somebody leaves your store, they're leaving with a feeling. These people are like my friends. These people are this store is a place that I want to come back to because I want that feeling again. You've all been to a restaurant and had a server who is just magnificent, who was joyful, and just the right level of being there, but not being too intrusive, very professional. And you want to go back because you want that experience again. You can do that at any store. We can all do that. If you focus on creating joy, that's where you start to create fans. You can't create fans without joy. And the purpose of creating fans, turning customers into fans, is to get them to come back, to get them to provide testimonials to their friends, to tell stories about how great you were to people you've never met. Ultimately, that's what you're wanting from everybody who walks through the door. It's often forgotten in the world of marketing. Almost every marketing technique you see is focused on getting a new person into your store, which is silly because the statistics are blatant. It's like it takes something like 8% of the effort to get somebody who's already been in your store to come back. And it's like 16 times easier to get somebody to come back if they have been in your store already. But we don't focus on that, and we should. This is a perfect time when you're going to have an influx of new people into your store during the holidays. For a lot of businesses, this can be 30, 40% of their annual revenue might be generated in this holiday season. So this huge influx of customers into the store, it's the perfect time to focus on creating joy and an experience that they will want to come back for. And building that fan base is really valuable. This is something, this is actually where I added some pics here. Encourage social media posts, encourage pics and posts. And however you want to do it. Do you have a display that's particularly interesting? Do you have Santa coming through? Whatever you think might work for you, but encourage pics. And this is an example. It's kind of hard to see here, but this is actually just a sign, a board, and I don't even think it's anything fancy. Maybe it's Gator board, but anyway, it's a sign with a hole cut out. And if the boys don't want to have their picture taken with big flaming red hair, the other side of it has the guy's version of it. So it's this two-sided sign that's stuck on the outside of this restaurant, and it's all it is a picture posting opportunity. That's something that could be put together fairly quickly, something like that. But if you can find a reason for people to take pictures at your store and then post them to social media and tag your store, that's a no-brainer. That's something that if it's a fit for your store, you should absolutely look into. And then connect. So that's one way of connecting, is having them post and tag you. You can also encourage connection. So you might run a simple little contest and you just have a sign that says, every new follower on Facebook for the month of December is put in for a drawing for something. Or you can do just about anything. But give people a reason to connect. And if you're creating joy, they will want to stay connected with you. So they'll happily do that. And if you're not, if online or social media is not where you want to make those connections, it's okay to have just a piece of paper near the cash register that says, we send out emails every week or a couple times a month or whatever it is. If you'd like to hear from us about upcoming specials, what we've got going on in the new year, give us your email. We'll put you on a list. So, but find a reason to connect. Okay, and show gratitude for them having come in, and certainly for having made a purchase. And gratitude really doesn't have to be anything much more than a thank you, but an honest thank you, right? Especially for those who have made a purchase. Thank you for supporting this store. However you want to phrase it. So thank yous are big, and then stay connected. I think it happens a lot, especially with the emails, that people will put their name down on a list and then they never get an email, or they never get an email that they notice. So work to stay connected with the connections you make, with those fans that you're trying to build. However that works out, whether that's sending emails out, whether that's through social media. Make good on any promises, obviously, but stay connected. Okay? So if you stay connected and you've created joy, you can't do much more than that to turn a customer into a fan. If you give them joy, you give them a great experience, and you connect with them in a way that lasts, that connection lasts beyond that transaction, that's how you create fans. Okay. So these are those three big topics that I wanted to discuss today. Becoming a holiday destination, being a place where somebody wants to go into. And we did that in three different ways, right? We looked at how to bling your store up so you get noticed, how to attract people in by really thinking about their sense responses and how to capitalize on that. And then setting yourself up online so that when people do look at you, and they will, that what they find will give them confidence to walk through your door. Then once they're in the door, we talked about different tactics to help convert lookers into customers. It's primarily built around really giving them a celebratory experience, creating that joy, which also feeds into creating fans. So much of those last two big topics are about creating joy and continuing that celebration that they are in your community to do. They're there to celebrate. They're there to have a great time. Being a part of that is really valuable. So again, the customer journey. If we take a look at this now, we didn't talk a lot about advertising and stories because in this scenario, what we were asked to respond to was people are already in town. So the advertising here is really just that bling on the outside of your store that gives them confidence that you're continuing the celebration. We talked about the online search. We talked about testimonials or reviews. We talked about web and social, and then making contact. Normally, when I'm talking about customer journey, I also point out your phone, how you respond to the phone, your message. The tone when people answer the phone is a point of contact, a touch point that you don't want to forget. In this case, people are already in your community. They're not going to be calling you. We talk the environs and normally we take a look at what is outside of your store. What do people feel like when they're walking down your sidewalk? In this case, your community is probably dolled up for the celebration, so the environs should be optimal. And then we talked about the exterior and interior of your store, the sale process, and post-purchase. So ultimately, the idea is if you can manage each of these different touch points to create a specific experience that is consistent throughout, that's how you create fans, right? And in the holiday season, it all has to be aligned with holiday celebrations because that's what your customer is looking for. They're wanting to celebrate.
Thank you so much for sharing these tips and tricks, Robert.
Hey, you're very welcome. It's my pleasure.
And thank you, everybody, for taking a little bit of time out of your day. I hope you're able to walk away with a tip or something to think about or put in your pocket and implement within your store. So thank you for taking the time out of your day.
Create joy. It's all about the joy.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks. Bye-bye.